Hey everyone, welcome back. You know me, I'm all about those deep dives into stuff that really makes you think. Well, today we're taking a look at relationships, but with a twist. We're using your excerpts from Conversations with God.
And this isn't just your typical relationship advice. This is about challenging some really deep-seated beliefs about why we seek connection and what it truly means to love and be loved.
Okay, now you've got my attention. So we're not talking like communication tips or how to plan a romantic date night.
Not quite. This goes way deeper. Walsh argues that most relationships struggle because people are looking for something outside themselves to feel whole.
Okay, but isn't that kind of the point of a relationship? To have someone make you happy?
That's what we're often led to believe, right? But the text suggests that this constant looking outward for completion actually creates a lot of dependency and insecurity. It's like building a house on someone else's land, never truly stable.
So instead of searching for our other half, we should be like, what? Already feeling complete on our own.
Exactly. Walsh says true love begins with loving yourself. And that means acknowledging your own worthiness, honoring your emotions, making choices that feel right for you, not just what pleases someone else.
Okay, hold on a sec. That's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm listening, and my dating app history is basically a testament to looking for that missing piece. How does that kind of mindset shift even begin?
It starts by turning inward.
Yeah.
This is where that whole self-love thing becomes really important. And I don't just mean bubble baths and face masks, those are nice. It's about really getting to know yourself, accepting yourself with all your quirks and flaws, making choices that truly align with who you are.
So it's like I'm already a whole pizza, not searching for my other half slice.
Precisely. And when two whole, self-sufficient pizzas come together, well, it's a totally different kind of party.
Okay, I can't argue with that analogy, but I can already hear some people thinking, so does that mean relationships become all about me then?
And that's a valid concern, but Walsh clarifies that it's not about becoming self-centered. He actually describes relationships as sacred ground for growth. Not about finding someone to complete you, but sharing your already complete self and supporting their journey too.
Okay, I see where you're going with this, but it also sounds kind of terrifying, like way more vulnerable than just blaming your partner when things get messy.
Absolutely. This approach requires a whole lot of self-awareness. And Walsh talks about the importance of honest communication, especially about those icky feelings we tend to avoid.
Because confronting our deepest fears and insecurities makes for a super fun date night.
Maybe not in the romantic comedy sense. But Walsh argues that by avoiding those tough conversations, we actually sabotage our own happiness and ultimately the potential of the relationship.
Okay, you got my attention. So how do we actually do this? Give me the step-by-step guide to having those scary but necessary conversations.
Walsh suggests starting by simply noticing your feelings without judgment. Instead of, ugh, I'm so angry, it's more like, interesting, I'm feeling angry. I wonder why that is.
Wow, that's so much healthier than my usual approach, which is just stew in my anger and hope my partner magically figures it out.
Yeah, and that's where the real work comes in. Because once you've identified that unmet need, Conversations with God suggests turning inward instead of outward to try to get it met.
Okay, so practical example.
Yeah.
Let's say my unmet need is feeling appreciated after I just cleaned the entire kitchen for like the millionth time.
Instead of hoping your partner will just magically notice and give you the appreciation you're craving, you could explore ways to feel appreciated from within.
So I'm not saying, oh, it's fine, I don't care. But I'm shifting my focus from getting that appreciation externally to finding it internally.
Exactly. Conversations with God really emphasizes this inner shift. Because when we rely on others to meet all of our needs, we set ourselves up for disappointment and resentment.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's like getting mad at someone for not scratching an itch they don't even know you have.
Right. And the more we can own and address our own needs, the less pressure we put on our partners, which ironically can lead to a more fulfilling and supportive relationship.
Okay, that's kind of mind-blowing. But what about those deeply ingrained patterns we tend to bring into relationships? Like always attracting the same type of partner or falling into the same arguments over and over again.
Yes, those patterns. Conversations with God has some really interesting insights about those too.
All right, buddy, Walsh, lay it on me.
Walsh suggests that those repetitive patterns we see in our relationships, they're not just coincidences. They're often reflections of our own unresolved issues.
So instead of blaming our partners for pushing our buttons, we should be asking ourselves, why do we even have this button in the first place?
Yes. It's about recognizing that we play a role in creating the dynamics that unfold in our relationships. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because Walsh suggests that relationships aren't about finding the perfect partner.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
It's not what you think. He's saying that relationships are actually about finding the perfect mirror.
A mirror to reflect back like my best angles for Instagram.
Not quite, though I'm all for a little self-love. He means a mirror to reflect back our own patterns, our strengths and weaknesses, so we can see ourselves more clearly and ultimately grow.
So you're saying those arguments we have with our partners, those are actually like hidden opportunities for self-discovery.
Exactly. Walsh encourages us to view conflict not as a threat to the relationship, but as a chance to understand ourselves and our partners on a deeper level.
Okay, I like that reframing. But let's be real, sometimes those opportunities feel more like a relationship death sentence.
For sure. And that's where that conscious communication we talked about earlier really comes into play. Walsh emphasizes speaking our truth, but doing it from a place of love, not blame.
That's way easier said than done, especially when you're feeling completely unheard and unappreciated.
Absolutely. It's a practice. That's why Walsh stresses the importance of owning our feelings. So instead of saying, you never listen to me, it's more like, I'm feeling unheard right now. Can we please talk about this?
It sounds so simple when you put it like that.
Yeah.
But I can see how approaching it that way would be much less likely to start a fight.
Exactly. It's about expressing your needs without attacking your partner. Remember, relationships are about collaboration, not combat.
This is all making sense, but man, it sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but conversations with God suggest that the rewards are well worth the effort. Because when we can learn to approach our relationships with this level of self-awareness and communication, we open ourselves up to a whole new level of intimacy and connection.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And a little daunting, honestly. So for someone listening who's thinking, okay, I'm ready to ditch the blame game and try this new way of relating, what's one thing they can start doing today?
Walsh gives a really simple but powerful piece of advice. He says, in every interaction, ask yourself, what would love do now?
Love, not obligation, not my never-ending to-do list.
Nope, just pure, unadulterated love. Walsh is really challenging us to make love the guiding force in our relationships.
I love that idea. It's so simple, but so profound.
It really is. And that's the beauty of conversations with God. It gives us permission to think about relationships and ourselves in a whole new light.
And sometimes that new perspective is all we need to spark real, lasting change. Now, earlier we were talking about those patterns we bring into relationships. And the more we talked, the more I started to wonder about Walsh's take on the whole idea of obligation. Because, let's be honest, that word alone can feel kind of icky in the context of relationships.
You're telling me, and you know what? Conversations with God actually takes a pretty radical stance on the whole obligation thing.
Okay, color me intrigued. Spill the tea on Walsh's wisdom. Okay, so we're about to go deep on this whole obligation thing. Lay it on me. What does Walsh say about ditching the shoulds in relationships?
Well, he's pretty straightforward about it, actually. He says we don't have any obligations in relationships.
Whoa, hold up a sec. Isn't that a little extreme? I mean, when we commit to someone, don't we kind of sign up for certain things?
He gets that it's a radical idea, for sure. We're pretty much conditioned from day one to think about what we should be doing for our partners, what we owe them.
It's true. We've got those societal expectations, the whole till death do us part thing, not to mention like remembering birthdays and anniversaries and actually showing up for those work parties, even when you'd rather be home in your sweatpants.
Yeah, all of that. But here's the thing. Walsh says that by focusing so much on those shoulds, we lose sight of what truly matters in relationships.
Which is?
Connection, authenticity, choosing from a place of love, not from a sense of obligation.
So it's like if I'm only doing something because I feel like I have to, not because I genuinely want to,
Yeah.
then I'm not really present in that moment.
Exactly. And Conversations with God emphasizes this shift from have to get to.
Get to.
Yeah. It's about reframing those obligations as opportunities. Instead of, oh, I have to plan this whole birthday thing, it's more like, I get to celebrate this amazing person I love.
Okay, I see the difference. But that's a pretty big mindset shift. How do we even start to untangle those ingrained shoulds from our genuine desires?
Walsh talks about the importance of self-reflection and honest communication with ourselves and with our partners.
So like journaling about every not-so-great anniversary gift I've ever received. Because that's a long journal entry, my friend.
Hey, whatever works right. But seriously, it's about getting curious about those feelings. Why do those gifts bother you? What need isn't being met in that situation?
And then what? I march right over to my partner and launch into a monologue about my unmet needs.
Well, not necessarily. Walsh talks about having those conversations from a place of vulnerability and love, not blame or judgment.
Okay, less attacking. More like sharing my inner world.
Exactly. It's about saying, hey, this is important to me, and I'd love to find a way to make this work for both of us.
This is all making so much sense, but I gotta be honest. It doesn't sound easy.
It's definitely a practice. It's not like we flip a switch and suddenly we're perfectly self-aware and communicating like Zen masters. But Walsh reminds us that every time we choose love over obligation, every time we show up authentically, we're strengthening that muscle.
And that's how we create those truly fulfilling relationships we all crave.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. And speaking of journeys, if someone is listening and wants to dive deeper into all of this, where would you point them?
Straight to the source. Conversations with God is a must-read for anyone who's ready to challenge their beliefs about relationships and step into a whole new way of connecting.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Wow.
It's a book that can truly change your life. And hey, isn't that what these deep dives are all about?
Absolutely. So until next time, keep asking those tough questions, keep choosing love, and we'll see you back here soon for another deep dive.